Awesome, keep it up.
Whoa, wait!
Oh no, big mistake!
Edwards got back last and down to 10.
No, he's not in corner.
It has been an absolutely astonishing season.
Well, good afternoon, folks. A delayed start to proceedings today. We do apologise, but my rFactor 2 decided to be a little bit of a pain. But we're here finally. It's round 2 of 4 of the Formula Sim Racing Winter Series. And we are here at one of the more interesting additions, I would say, to the Formula 1 calendar in recent years. It's the Baku City Circuit. It is a 6-kilometre hell for some. Joy for many, one of the most challenging street circuits out there. Also features one of the longest straights to have ever been witnessed in motorsport history. Sure to get those DRS fans out there all hot under the collar. It's sure to see so much overtaking, and well, we're glad to bring it to you. Thank you very much to race director Cameron Rodger. He's going to be our broadcaster for today. And as for the shouty boys talking over this, well, I'm James Kirk, and it's a pleasure to be joined by my Rocket League sensei, actually, Mr. Corey Dyer. Corey, we've not really done this in this setting before, but I guess...
Yeah, we've casted Rocket League many a time together, but
many a
never
time.
sim racing, never Formula 1, never GT, and never Indy, which we did just wrap up the Indy series here on FSR, and it was fantastic, James. But we're now getting to what I'd call like pre-season to the 2019 FSR Championships, and well, this is a free-for-all for anybody to join, isn't it?
Very much so. If you're not aware of how the Winter Series works, well, it's Lone Wolf Central. Yes, you'll have some people, some friends, some teams still working together on setups, but this is a driver-centric championship. So, such winners in the past have often been people who you wouldn't necessarily expect to win the main championships. You look at the likes of Patrick De Witt in the past, Michi Hoyer, our most recent champion. But you have names that have been around the scene for a long time as well, the likes of Kuba Brzezinski, multiple podium sitter, multiple race winner in plenty of categories across sim racing, and then we can't, of course, forget Martin Stefanko, who's with the Haas F1 esports racing team now. So a real variety of drivers turn up in this championship, and only 4 series long. You can't really afford to miss around if you want a serious chance of winning it in the end, actually. And for some people, it's a training simulation, but we interviewed the likes of Martin Gosby, of Michi Hoyer, both of our race winners from last time out in Jerez. And they said, listen, you know, if we have a good couple of rounds, if we're going to have, 2 rounds of the season where we're up the top, where we're scoring good points, why wouldn't we want to win the championship? You know, we're racing drives. And for Martin Gosby, looking good for him once again, took pole position out in Jerez along with his race 1 win. And he's currently on pole position again as we stand with just under 7 minutes to go. 1:44.083 is his time to beat, but behind we've got Marek Godek, who was quite unlucky last time out, honestly showing some good pace but fell down the order in race 1. They've got to be careful though, because Mr. Jerne Simoncic, runner-up in the World Championship for the 2018 season, he's hot on Gosby's heels in P2.
Yeah, James, I've been watching these drivers out on track, not only in the pre-qualifiers, but of course here in the qualifiers as well. And these drivers, they're seemingly having a little bit of a tricky turn into that turn number 7, you know, coming off of the many straights at the start and then going into intricate little back city parts. They're just struggling to adjust to that pace and make it in, because that line is so hard to cut, and that is where you're seeing these little extra attempts come out from the likes of Martin Gosby, Yannick Sumrich, I'm going to always get that name wrong, bud, and Marek Godek. And they're just sort of like, they're the masters of this track. City circuits are so different from your Barcelona, from your Silverstone, isn't it? Because it's so intricate. You go off, you're into a wall, and it really scares some drivers, doesn't it?
Well, let's go on board with Mark Hutchinson, shall we? Let's see how scary the circuit... Okay, he's not going to do a lap. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. He did get too scared. Let's see, can we pick up someone else? Okay, Jan Woznica. Nope, he's going to go wide as well. Tom Lombert. Oh, he goes very deep at turn 1. Hopefully he continues on. No, come on. Okay,
No,
let's
no,
go on
you
board
gotta think
Mark
here, this is
Weiler.
strategy for Tom there, where he's gone off. He's ruined that sort of run, but he knows 5 minutes left in qualifying. He's just come straight out of the pits, and he's setting himself up. He knows he's still got one good run in this, because the way we do it here at FSR, of course, is you get 12 laps, which you can run around. But remember, because of the setup lap, the in lap, and all of that, you really only have, is it sorry, just doing quick maths off the top of my head.
It's 4 attempts, pretty
laps,
much.
4
Yeah.
attempts. So you've got to knock them all out, and they have got to be perfect.
Okay, I've been doing my scouting. Let's go down to P18 and to Alistair Khan, shall we? Alistair Khan, who was just sneaking into the points last time out in Jerez. Hopefully, no mistakes. Hopefully, a nice lap to take you around Baku. Let's see how scary this Baku circuit really is as we head into turn 1. The start of this circuit is...
Oh, it is the Baku first turn. It is a devil of a turn. We saw it, what was it, back in 2017, that big crash going into turn number 1. It happens to the best of drivers, and here is no different. Either undershooting it, a little bit of wheel lockup, or we've seen drivers going and braking too late. If you can master that first turn, it is a massive difference.
I'm not getting a break with this, am I?
No, it is the caster's curse, time and time again.
Like, can one of you please just go through turn 1 and not spin or ruin it?
Right,
Okay,
Tom Lamberts. He's the one I'm going to say, because he's just coming up to his main lap. He's just on his out lap, and he's just coming up to the final straight. So he's a lad which I definitely expect to be really performing today. Definitely more of a race driver instead of the qualifiers, but he's got to get that initial good start, doesn't he?
Starting P13 wouldn't be too bad. Of course, in race 1, the points go down to P15. Tom, I'm willing you on here, bud. Let's get through turn 1. Yes, good braking. Not the best, but that will do. That will do. Onwards we go to turn 2. As I was saying, this circuit, very simple in nature, very deceiving at the start, because you have 2 left-handers, followed by a third. 2 massive DRS zones, by the way. This the second of them down this back straight, and someone up ahead already spinning into a slippery turn 3. And there are a number of slippery corners here. Traction at a premium. It's then a quick flick into the right-hander of turn 4, and you'll get the impression, oh, it's easy, it's simple. Look, he's just gone left, 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 right. Here we go, left again, right again. What's so tricky about this circuit? No problems whatsoever. Well, now we enter the back half, and this is where you will lose time hand over fist if you've not lost that setup. As Corey was saying earlier, turn 7 so difficult to nail, as is this complex. 8, 9, 10, and 11, and Lombert hitting the wall there and choosing to abandon this lap. Let's pick up Luca D'Amelio, actually. He's just going through as well, because I'm going to complete this lap, whether it's with 1 driver or 2. Luca continues his way down the back part of this straight. We've seen a couple of incidents, actually, down here in real life, where drivers have tried to go side by side, or there's been back marking issues. No such issues for Luca here as he starts his descent downhill through turn 15 and through turn 16 here, and this is the wind-up. That corner, it may look pretty unassuming, but it is essential, because it sets you up down the entirety of this back section through turns 17, 18, 19, 20, and then the rest of the back straight, which has DRS zone included. If you mess that turn up, then you're at a huge disadvantage, and Luca D'Amelio, I think, is going to be looking to start his final lap of the day, but that is Baku circuit. We finally got through it, and I'm going to take a break.
Well, just talking about that turn continuously there, 16, guys at home, that is a downhill turn. Braking on that is super hard. Not only that, but the curb you have to go around, the curbs you can slide off so easily. That's what I was talking about with 17, which even has a little bit of a bump over it. So it's quite easy to smack into the wall. And then, of course, 8 and 9, where you're going into that little back alley, so thin. This is a track where you have to be precision accurate around the turns, because you want to use the full width of the circuit, but those curbs, they will slide you out, as we just saw if you were sticking on with Emilio now. But these drivers, with the last 40 seconds left, we're going to just see the last guys grab the last couple of spots.
Up the top, there has been a change, and Jerne Simoncic has deposed Martin Gosby, who's in the garage, actually, so no second consecutive pole position for the Brit. For Jerne, though, the Slovenian, we've seen him take so many pole positions in the last year alone, and still going, still looking to improve from that P1 position. He's currently 2/10 ahead of Marek Godek in third, who's just started his final lap, I believe. 15 seconds left for people to cross the line, of which Mark Hutchinson won't be one of those. Neither will Janis Brakstok, Robin Fredriksson, Roma Tissing, Jacob Reed, Keir White. They're all in the garage. Matthew Tucson just finishing his lap, so really, I'm looking at the likes of probably Michi Hoyer, maybe Kostas Gallimatis, maybe Jan Woznicka, although he's actually going down the back straight backwards, so probably not Jan at this point.
He's enjoying the donuts. That's all he's doing out there.
He is, but they're also the only people who can really challenge Jerne at this point. And Michi's in the middle part of the circuit. I think Gallimatis is going to be the first person to cross the line here. Of course, took a really impressive podium in race number 2 after securing a reverse grid number in the lottery. No improvement for P16 for the Greek.
Improvement in time, about a 10th, but yeah, not enough to be able to hurt Tommy, who will stay in 15th.
Yeah, let's see who's next up then. Jerne's gone to... Godek has ruined it. Jerne's gone up to a 143.880. That is a 2/10 improvement on Gosby. And so now it's left only to his teammate and the reigning champion to even try a layer marker. Michi not doing so hot here, down in P12, really struggling. Although even an improvement of a couple of tenths will see him catapult up into the top 10. A real change in fortunes for a lot of these drivers and a real change in the qualifying order. We saw the top 20 separated by a second at Jerez. Today, it's the top 12 separated by 9/10, and Michi Hoyer, wasn't I bang on the money? He did improve by 2/10, and it's launched him up from P14 to P6, so a great final effort there from the German, but it is Jerne Simoncic who takes pole position from Martin Gosby, Marek Godek, Janis Brakstok, and Mark Hutchinson rounding out that top 5.
Yeah, behind them, filling out the rest of the grid will be Michi Hoyer, Robin Fredriksson, Roma Tissing, Jacob Reed, Simon White, Matthew Tucson, Luca D'Amelio, Jan Wozniak, Mark Whaler, Tom Lambert's going for 15th. And boy, oh boy, I didn't realize how many drivers we had signed up here today, James. 29 on the grid. This street circuit is going to get a bit hectic, I think.
We saw a lot of people going off at turn 1. And depending on your view of life and racing in general, that either means very good or very bad things. Which
for viewers, bad for drivers. That's the best combo, I think.
Entertainment and content. It is coming your way in about 10 minutes' time. We're going to take a quick break here in the casting booth, but we'll be back with you very shortly. We're back. Welcome to the Winter Series 2019 here at Formula Sim Racing. We're currently in the closing stages of warm-up before we head into race 1 of 2 this evening. Just a reminder, if you are just joining us, then we do have 2 races today, if race 1 wasn't a big enough hint. The format works as thus. We have a feature race, longer in length, about 30 minutes or so. And then after that we have a race 2, half the distance, 15 minutes in length. But as an extra spice to the mix, we have a reverse grid, which features a reverse grid number, which is randomly generated. It causes all sorts of fun, because it could see over half the grid starting in a reverse position to where they finished in race 1. It's great fun. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, whether this is your first viewed sim race or whether it's your latest in a long string. I'm James Kirk, he's Corey Dyer. We've watched a lot of races in our time, haven't we? And after seeing so many people going off at turn 1 and knowing the nature of the back half of this circuit, given how tight especially the castle section is, let's just say that we're optimistic, perhaps, but we might be expecting a couple of crashes here and there.
Yeah, lap 1 is definitely going to be a scary affair, but like a good horror movie, James, you still watch on. Maybe through your fingers, just like trying to get a little peek at it, but you still watch it nonetheless. And these drivers, just in the warm-up, guys, which you haven't seen earlier, there was a couple of requests of, just in lap 1, guys, please, single file through the castle section, because we can see it happening ahead. It's like, it's been foretold, no one wants it to happen, but if it does happen, it's a case of, we told you so. It's it's that proper. Just be safe out there.
And I guess the reason. Okay, listen. We could be super naive about it, super optimistic, and say, no, they'll be fine. But there's a number of factors to consider, which makes us lean towards this conclusion. First of all, as you rightly pointed out, this is kind of pre-season already for a lot of these drivers. They're just getting into the groove, preparing for the 2019 season. If you didn't see last round at Jerez just a week ago, I mean, they crashed on that circuit. There was a massive succession of crashes at the beginning of race 2 at Jerez, which is one of the most open circuits you could possibly hope to drive at. So if they couldn't keep it clean there, I mean, knowing how my luck's been today with getting drivers to complete a lap of Jerez, they're probably all going to be fine, aren't they? They're probably going to have no issues whatsoever. They're going to make me look silly, but then again, that's the whole point of predictions, is sometimes they are meant to make you look silly.
James, I think, right, we're going to start a whole new practice regime for these drivers, right? Colouring books. Keep it between the lines. I think that's just, it's... convertible mentality. That's what I'm talking about. Just, one of those, like, wicked, crazy... Have you seen, like, adult colouring books? They're complex as anything, but, I mean, they're really cool as well, actually. Really, like, I can't remember what the name is for them, but, like, just, guys, go out, buy one of those. The mentality will come over, and then, go around lap 1. Just literally surviving lap 1 in races like here at Baku can climb you 5 spaces on the track, can't it?
You've out-analogied me. Take my job. You've won. It's, end of. And speaking of...
We've got 30 minutes here on race 1. Fight back, buddy. Don't give up that soon.
Fight back. Well, speaking of the end of, apart from my career as a caster, it's also the end of warm-up. And that means that we're going to be heading to the race very soon indeed. We see the same 2 people on the front row as we did in Jerez, except this time it's the other way around. Jerne Simoncic taking pole position from Martin Gosby. And with Michi Hoyer not necessarily in the worst position, but stuck in the middle of the top 10, Corey, would you say that for Gosby, it's not necessarily a chance to get one up on Jerne Simoncic as a chance to be safe, be considerate, and think, well, as long as I stay where I am, I'm going to be extending my lead in the championship overall?
It is pretty much play safe on Baku. So that front line is a massive pull. Don't get me wrong, because you're ahead, but some wrong braking from behind can go into you. So no one is safe on that first turn, even into the second one, So it's all about reaction speed for me. You see an error up ahead or behind because, you got to check your mirrors. you see that error, you have to adjust to it, and that is going to be my biggest play. It's not only your awareness of the driving line, you know, and your own mechanical skills, but the awareness of drivers around you.
Of course, a reminder, if you're looking at all these wonderfully coloured cars and you're thinking, well, where are the teams? This is a Lone Wolf Championship, so you're going to be seeing none of those Perez-Ocon shenanigans. You're not going to be seeing any of those wild Verstappen-Ricardo incidents. Well, you might see incidents, but it's not going to be between two teammates. They might be friends, sure, they might share setups, but everyone is out there for their own. And in race number 1, there are 15 positions that will gift you points. 25 for first, all the way down to 15th, giving you 1 point. Of course, being in that P10 to P15 bracket will give you the opportunity to really elevate yourself up to the front of the grid in race number 2, but a reminder that it's a randomly generated reverse grid number, so it could be 13, it could be 11, it could be 15, and so it's why generally as a driver you're going to want to aim for that P10 position to guarantee yourself a good starting place in race number 2, which is, it really benefited Kostas Galanamatis last time out. Of course, he picked up a podium out of it because of other people making mistakes, because he kept it safe. And, well, talking of keeping safe, you're going to want to do it on the formation lap. You're going to want to do it on the first lap. We should wait and see whether the drivers take that advice. But I'm excited.
I think the first step of being safe is just getting to the grid. And, well, everyone's done that. We've got one, actually. Vlad Takarev, which unfortunately just hasn't loaded in yet. But, you know, they're all getting into this formation lap. And can you talk me through, like, the warming up of tyres and the sort of, like, engine physics in rFactor 2 for me here, James?
Sure. So, it's pretty much as you would expect in real life. rFactor 2, one of, if not the most realistic simulator that you can find out there in terms of racing games. And so, especially on this circuit where it's low traction, you'll see drivers moving around a lot near the end of the lap so that their tyres are heated to the perfect amount. Apparently, we got the wrong grid, by the way, so we're just going to have a reset. But yeah, it actually gives you more time to explain. So
well,
you'll
it's
see
the beauty of, you know, with SimRacing, if there's a mistake, you just reset it. You don't get that in real life. You can't just rewind time, can you?
Well, exactly. Ironically enough, actually, this is going to have upset a couple of these guys, I'm sure, because they would have started to get into the tyre managing system. But yeah, so they want to make sure that their tyres are as optimum a temperature once they hit the grid as possible. And for the guys at the front, it'll mean having them a little bit hotter than they would like, because obviously they've got to have the 29, 28, whatever cars lining up on the grid behind them. So they're going to cool down for a little bit. For the guys at the back, they need to be hot and ready by the time they hit the grid, because then it's going to be merely a few seconds before they go lights out. As for the engine, it's just about keeping it on low mode. It's just about making sure that it's keeping in good condition. There shouldn't really be too many issues, honestly, with the engines at this point. But there is, obviously, if you really aggressively attack the car, if you treat it badly, then it'll give up on you. It's as simple as that. It will blow up. We did see some engine catastrophes last time out in Jerez. So treat your car nice. And
yeah, for me, it is going to be, because of the walls, of course, more about the front wing damage and maybe some tyre damage and suspension damage from, you know, tapping those walls a little bit. You've got to be careful in that regard, I think, and that's what most of the drivers are going to be careful about. Because with the, you know, more longer straights, it's a bit easier in the engine, and then not having to try and work it around corners so much.
100%. So, let's take you through the grid then, shall we? We've got Jone Simoncic. He took pole position so many times last year in the World Championship, and he starts on pole here in Baku in the Winter Series ahead of Martin Gosby, our championship leader. Marek Godek, another strong qualifying performance. Hopefully he'll be able to convert that into good points this time around. He starts P3 ahead of Janos Braksov, one of the newer names around here, but doing an excellent job once again. He took a podium in race 2 last time out. Maybe looking to do one better, get a podium in race number 1. The experienced Mark Hutchinson lines up in P5 ahead of reigning champion Michi Hoyer down in P6. Robin Fredrickson will be starting P7 ahead of Roma Tsing in P8. Jacob Reed, who had a very eventful Jerez, will be starting P9 ahead of Kian White, the Irishman, starting in P10. Matthew Tucson, that's some great qualifying actually for Tucson up there in P11 ahead of the Italian Luca D'Amelio in P12. Jan Woznica will be starting P13 ahead of Mark Weiler in P14. Tom Lambert, the Belgian, I believe, is P15, ahead of a guy who took a podium last time out in Jerez. Kostas Galanomatis will be disappointed to be starting down in P16. Not disappointed considering Jerez will be Andre Kunterman once again getting into the top 30 drivers from pre-qualifying. Doing much better. He started on the back row in Jerez. He's up in P17 this time around, ahead of Alistair Card in P18. Danny Fredrickson will be disappointed, down in P19, well behind his brother. And rounding out the top 20 will be Fabian Ruth. Another poor and disappointing qualifying, I should say, for Danny van der Niet, who's down there in P21, ahead of Ton van Egmond. Boris Bon will be in P23 with Herman Stocci P24. Adam Rainey will be P25, ahead of Anton Skirichenko in P27. P27, by the way, because Vlad Tokarev, who would be in P26, he's going to be starting from the pit lane. Christian Lazaro will be starting on the grid P28, ahead of the back row of Tomasz Vak and Dawid Mrozek, who's well down the order. And, apparently that's because of a back of the grid penalty. Suffered awfully last time out in Jerez. He looked so good. And he messed up race 1. And he disconnected from race 2. So, looking to bounce back. And to be fair, starting from the back of the grid is not actually the worst thing in Baku, especially if things kick off ahead.
We saw this in the IndyCar series where I think it was 2 drivers, I can remember, on Road Atlanta, actually purposely started from the pit lane purely because the first couple of turns are just pure chaos when you've got so many drivers out on the track. So by starting at the back, if you're one of the last 10, from 20 backwards, just playing it safe back there can really reap rewards. But James, we're coming up, drivers just forming up on the grid. Oh, lights, when they go out, this is going to be such an exciting one. I can't wait to get started here at Baku.
Always the pit stops to consider as well. A chance to overtake with the tyre strategy. 2 compounds of tyre required in this race. So we'll be seeing those for sure, and we'll be seeing the lights go out soon enough as well. The 5 red illuminate above the drivers, and they go out now. We're racing here in Baku for the first time today, and it's a good start from Gosby, but Simoncic cuts off the line into turn 1, and is everyone going to make it through okay? I think they are. They are being very courteous into there. A little bit of taps further back in the field, but everyone has made it through safe. Great driving, especially from Michi Hoyer, who's made his way up to P4 already. Some more clattering in the back, but nobody really going into the wall. Great to see from everyone as Michi Hoyer dives to the inside. And Mario Godek, and he massively misses his braking zone. He's gone down to the shops to pick up some eggs. He's coming back now, but unfortunately he's missed the rest of the train. He's going to be going right back to the back of the pack, and he does indeed rejoin in P30. A massive mistake. They're getting a little bit too eager after a brilliant start, and it means up front that we've had a little bit more chopping and changing. Godek, who had to go into avoiding actions, has allowed Janos Brakshock through. He's into the podium. Hutchinson remains in P5 with Fredrickson up to P6. Reed's up to P7 as well. White up to P9. Luca D'Amelio's made his way inside the top 10. And as we head through the castle section, Corey, I've got to say, apart from that one massive mistake from Hoyer, that's brilliant from everyone in the field. Good driving.
Yeah, I'm literally still watching the castle section. Everyone one by one going into it. We thought there was going to be a catastrophe on lap 1. If it was to happen, it would happen already. And my, oh my, I tip my hat to these drivers. They are doing fantastic out there. And well, who is doing even better than that? Godsby up front is absolutely rocking on ahead, dude.
Yeah, in looking at Michi Hoyer, we completely missed the fact that in the same corner, Martin Gosby overtook Jerne Simoncic, and so at the end of lap 1, he is going to lead by absolute length. He's 1.5 seconds clear as they cross the line from Simoncic, who's immediately under pressure from Brakshock into turn 1. He's going to hold it for now. The rest of the top 10, Godek, Hutchinson, Robin Fredrickson, Reed to Singh, White, and Voznica, who's now moved his way into the top 10 past Lucas Emilio, though the Italian looking up the inside of turn number 2 looks to force a mistake out of Jan. Slightly does, actually. The two of them now going side by side down the back straight, of course. DRS won't come into effect until lap 3, so we've got one more lap until that happens. And D'Amelio holding on to the inside. He retakes P10. Good defending overall from the Italian, especially considering that he lost the position only a couple of corners ago.
Yeah, and it shows just the inside line is so much more powerful here on Baku, where it's that tight circuit, you can't go out wider, so having that inside line means you get priority into those turns.
That's the second race won in a row that Michi Hoyer has made a high-profile mistake. It didn't cost him too badly in Jerez. It has cost him massively here, and he's got a long race ahead of him, though he's making his way through the order pretty decently, just looking to overtake Vlad Tokarev, who, remember, started from the pit lane, so Vlad already up to P26. He's done well for himself. Let's have a little further look up the field.
Remember, Vlad qualified 26th, so that pit lane start hasn't cost him anything at all.
No, very true. But then again, it didn't gain him anything either. If you're gonna, it's glass half full sort of feeling, I guess. As someone's fallen down the order, I feel. I think it's Matthew Tucson. Yeah, he's fallen well down the order to P21, and in fact, this is going to be Dyer Rodger just overtaking him into P. No, he's not actually. Tucson holds on around the outside of turn number 16 there, so I'm sure he would have picked up damage Tucson, and that will probably allow Rodger back through.
That's right behind
down
though.
the back
Look
of the
at
streak.
the speed he is picking up off of that drag. Unfortunately, he's sliding around a little bit, loses it, but it just shows the grip on this track is so hard to find.
And so Tucson actually doing really well, picking up the slipstream of Boris Bon ahead, and so that's allowed him to defend further up the road. By the way, Kian White has overtaken Roma Tissing for P8, so we are seeing a number of overtakes into turn 1 there. But the biggest problem I found is people trying to defend into the into turn number 3 actually, because of course now we've got the DRS open. Yep.
Ooh, couldn't keep away more, but holds off. Oh, Fredrickson. Tom Van Egmond has actually climbed. He like qualified about 26, so he has been 26. What I'm saying, 23rd. He has been climbing in this race.
Only one place outside the points as well, currently occupied by Mark Weiler. You look at it's a succession of blue cars there. Kunchman, Khan, and Weiler all there. Tom Lambert as well. Bit of a distinctive gap between himself and Jan Vosnika up there in P11, however. So the top 11 starting to pull away with some superior pace, whilst Lambert, Kunchman... Oh, and Kunchman hits the wall after such a good start, and he's taken out Khan, is it, as well? No, oh, he cuts across Weiler, Kunchman, and a massive mistake has led to a succession of issues for cars behind. Thankfully, they were all able to get through there. Weiler's allowed to go, Khan's allowed to go, and Kunchman, after such a good start, it's all come crashing to a halt, and he's going to have to pit for a new front wing.
Yeah, that is just gone left on the tracks. He'll have to pick that up later. And this is going to be a very early pit. James, I'm thinking of what he can do now to recover, because he is down to 21. Not completely out of points. He could recover back into 15. But he is going to have to go for a very long strategy here.
Well, this is where the tyre compounds really come into effect. He's going to have to take a massively long pit stop as it is to replace that front wing. Surely he's going to be heading onto the hardest of our 3 compound tyres today. So we've got the super soft marked by the red tyres, we've got the soft marked by the yellow, and then we've got the medium marked by the white tyres. And I'm imagining that we're going to be seeing a rare outing for said white tyres for Andre Kunchman, just to try and get him to the end, try and put him on a strategy that will work. Let's have a little look. I've not selected him. Why haven't I selected him? By the way, Adam Rainey out of the race. I don't understand why. And Kunchman onto the soft tyres. That seems bold. But maybe bold will get him points at the end of the day. Back up to the front. Gosby still leads. Simoncic holding him honest, though. He's reeled the gap back in to 1.5 seconds. So the Slovenian starting to slowly claw back some of that advantage that the Brit currently holds. Brakshock has been able to extend his gap over Godek meanwhile. Hutchinson, Fredrickson, all very close. Reed, White starting to close onto the back of him as well. D'Amelio up to P9 as well, so Tissing starting to lose positions, and Jan Vosnika's looking interested too.
Yeah, and Tom Lambert's been able to recover all the way up to 12th. I can remember watching him earlier during that first lap in some real hard braking to resist the urge of going into the back of some other cars in front of him. Real controlled racing room. You can see the gap is forming, though. As you said earlier, the top 11 really starting to run away with the lead.
3-second gap between himself and Lambert, isn't it? So it is really starting to become a tier 1 and tier 2 field. 7 minutes have eluded us, and we've still got 23 to enjoy as Robin Fredrickson and Kian White go into contact with each other. Or is that no? Robin Fredrickson and Jacob Reed, my apologies. So Jacob Reed opening the DRS. He was close enough to Fredrickson to make a move, and he launched his way down the inside of turn 1. That is Reed up into P6. Robin Fredrickson, a helpless duck in that situation.
But Fredrickson has DRS now, so he's going to be trying to get back. You can see that moving to the middle of the lane. Now he's going to be able to take this, regain that 6th. But for me here, looking at this, James, they're going to be trying to sort of like pull off each other and reclaw that gap, because you can see there is a bit of a gap just ahead, only 1 second. But if they keep sort of like, what's the term, drafting off each other, they're going to be able to get that time back and really propel each other forward.
He turned from a helpless duck into a mighty eagle, but I get the feeling that both of these guys are going to become prey for Kian White, who's looking very interested indeed. It's all well and good working together, Corey, but if you're working together and hindering each other at the same time, you're going to allow the likes of White, who's quite happy to just work on his own, a little slice of the pie. You're going to invite him in
as well, so he's just happy to be amongst the mix, and when he sees the opportunity, he will pounce, won't he?
Absolutely. Just coming down the hill now and going into this crucial turn 16. We're going to see the DRS in full effect as we keep on board with these three. Oh, that's a massive switch for Jacob Reed, and that's surely going to allow Kian White through. Speak of the devil of the corner, right? Kian White immediately allowed through. He's got the advantage, although Jacob Reed, he'll still have DRS because he was behind Robin Fredrickson at the line. So DRS for both of these guys now is going to open. You see both their flaps going at the same time. And the question is, who can pick up the slipstream of Robin Fredrickson ahead? He's fine. And surprisingly, despite Jacob Reed being directly in the slipstream, Kian White, because he had that better launch off 16, he's going to be still ahead going through turn 1. Still so close going into turn 2, but Jacob Reed knows that he can bite back now. He goes through that corner a lot better than Kian White, who was forced into a defensive position. Kian White continuing the defensive offensive, going to the inside of the track. Jacob Reed forced to the outside, forced to go around the outside, and he completes the move as well. That's outstanding stuff from Jacob Reed, who retakes P8, but not for long, because Kian White sticks it back up the inside of turn 4. A fantastic battle going on, and now involved is Luca D'Amelio. He's launched his way up the inside of Reed. This is brilliant stuff. At Baku, White comes out on top, D'Amelio comes into 8th, and Jacob Reed doesn't know what's hit him.
A stealthy Italian ninja, that lad, being able to just quickly creep on in without anyone noticing, gains the spot, and now White, he's got to be careful coming onto that main straight. Emilio might just be able to take 7th away from him.
That was a great battle.
Breathtaking.
And fully complementing the Baku circuit here on this one as well. It's got the trickiness of that middle section where you can't really overtake, but you know what? There are plenty of places where you can overtake on this street circuit. It's just about knowing when to do it, and it's about knowing how to do it. And D'Amelio, a masterclass there in being patient, waiting for your opportunity, and striking whilst the iron is hot. And like you say, now looking to line up a move on Kian White. He's going to be on the DRS zone. The flap opening once again, and Kian White, he's out of DRS zone of Robin Fredrickson now, who's about 2 seconds further on up the road. So he's got a big job ahead of him to try and pull out a further gap. D'Amelio not able to lay a finger on him just yet, but he will now, because White's hit the outside wall. He went deep at turn 1, and D'Amelio up into P7. Is Reed going to capitalise as well? Yes, he is. And how the pendulum swings, Corey. White has lost the 2 positions, which he's just gained.
Yeah, and Emilio, you got to be thinking, grinning ear to ear now. White trying to get the recovery, going on the inside of Jacob Reed. Real tight through there. Unfortunately, have to take it so tight, and Jacob Reed holds on. But look at just behind them, Tissing trying to sniff up the action, trying to wait for a mistake, and he'll be able to pounce on in as well. The battle is heating up towards the bottom end of the single-digit places.
Reminds me of the restaurant Benihana, this does. You got Jan Woznica looking at like the table in front of him as all the different meats and foods are cooking. He's like, oh, I wonder how many points I could get here. It's exciting stuff. It's a brilliant battle, and we will tune back into it very shortly indeed. We've got to give you an update. As I look at Martin Gosby, he's just hit the outside wall. He's just hit the outside wall of turn 15, and I wonder whether that's giving him suspension damage. Jurnej Simoncic might very well, by the time they hit the DRS zone, be within a second here. I could have tuned in at this point at the perfect time. We'll wait and see, obviously, as we close towards the line. I don't think it is a second just yet. We'll find out once Simoncic crosses this line now. No, he's not within a second. It is still just over, but Gosby's got to be careful. He cannot afford to allow too many mistakes like that, especially if it's given him lasting damage. They'll only get worse throughout this race.
Yeah, but you got to think as well, because of that sort of time loss from the bump with the wall, we're going to be looking here at the second DRS zone. Oh, he's got to be just outside it because this is getting super close. Like I said, with that suspension damage as well, taking those turns will be a little bit slow for Godspeed. So SimRacing, he's just waiting for that moment and just keeping a nice clean drive behind him, essentially the same as what Janos Brasic is doing behind as well. Just waiting for that moment, keeping it clean. They've got 17 minutes left in this race. They know it's not going to be won from just a simple little overtaking move. They have to just keep driving straight and wait for that opportunity. They can't force anything.
Still in the first half, but we've already had pitters. Mark Weiler, Boris Bon, and Vlad Tokarev have all come into the pits to switch onto the soft tyre, looking for the undercut on people ahead to try and chip their way into the points. We had a couple more retirements, by the way. Danny van der Neet and Fabian Ruth out of this race to join Adam Rainey on the sidelines. 27 out of our 30 runners and riders still in the mix, and Martin Gosby will be hoping that more of them do indeed drop out, because now Jernej Simoncic is within a second of DRS range. The pickup point is around here on the circuit, and Jernej Simoncic has fallen a little bit away. I'm thinking Gosby must surely have a good setup for the back end of the circuit, because he pulls out so much time in comparison. If he has picked up suspension damage, then his car is still looking mightily good. But Simoncic,
always got the DRS.
He has been able to pick it up. There was 300s in it, but this is only going to help him close. And Janos Braksok still watching brief. He's putting in a hell of a performance once again. Dare I say, outside shots of a win here. I mean, the lead is very much in view.
It's within a second and a half. You cannot count it out at all. Even Godek behind. I would say if he makes an undercut, say, onto this lap and tries to pull off a cheeky strat, 4 seconds is well within his reach to be able to try and claim that spot, because he just can't get caught up in traffic, you know?
So we've had one of the top guys pitting as well, Jan Bosnica, who was P11. He's coming to the pit, so looking to perform an undercut style move as well, to move his way into the top 10. Of course, that would confirm him a decent position in race number 2, despite the reverse grid. It's going to be curious to see his progress, because he has come out some 3 seconds behind Michi Hoyer and already looking to warm up the tyres as well. So he knows he's done well. He knows he's in a good bit of space to potentially make some inroads, which again, I can't take my eyes off this. Simoncic continuing to make inroads on Martin Gosby, and I question when Gosby will be looking to come into the pits, because of course he was saying in his interview last time out at Jerez, he was still struggling with the tyres. Just clearly he's changed something so that it works a bit better for him this year.
I don't know. He's still slipping around on there through the Carlsruhe section. He was sliding. This lap, you can see him come through there, just drifting in. He's got to pit this lap, I think. He's got to just make sure, go onto the soft, you know, which is a little bit easier to control. He's looking moving as if, yeah, he's staying out. I'm a little bit worried, because you got to think an undercut here could be super important, because it means those tyres will be able to warm up whilst his opponents just behind him, the two, will stay out and come out onto a colder tyre into what could be traffic. We'll just have to see how this plays out between the three. I think they're probably all going to just try and stick together, though.
Kian White has made his way back past Roma to Singh then for P9 and P10. The two still battling away down here at the edge of what could be a very important position when it comes to race 2. If I'm Martin Gosby, though, I'm going to disagree with you here, Corey. I think it's worth staying out as long as you can, because, of course, the longer you're able to stay out on this first stint, it means the more tyre life you're able to use up in the second stint. I know that you're going onto a harder compounded tyre, but that's kind of the whole point. You can push more than you would be able to. And it's not like you can just, you know,
my
go hell to
mindset is
leather.
if you're in first, you don't have to push as hard. You're setting the pace. And then you push when you got a bit of opposition. See here, that slide from Gosby right out in front, that's going to cost him the valuable temps. Maybe he's just trying to stay out too long. As I said earlier, the two lads behind him will just mimic what he does here. They're not going to lose anything. They're just quite happy to wait for him to just expend those tyres, because they're in the same boat.
And they're definitely in the class of their own, these guys. They're not so far ahead that a massive crash or a massive mistake will still see them in the podium or anything, but they're 4 seconds clear of Mark Hutchinson in fourth, which, by the way, Mark Hutchinson passed Marek Godek. So I'm wondering whether there was a mistake back there as well. I'm looking up to the front, Gosby, is that a pit lane line? Undecided.
Oh, I think he's trying to fake it out.
Is Braxock going in though? That's definitely a pit lane line for
Yeah.
Braxock. He's going to go for the undercut, Corey. Will it pay off? We're going to find out, I imagine, in the next 5 minutes or so.
You realise how smug I'm going to be if Braxock just ends up winning this race, right?
Of course. Well, I mean, it'd be a good call.
Huh?
It's all about when you pull the trigger and whether you pull it too early or not. D'Amelio and Tisting also choosing this moment to come into the pits themselves. All embroiled in their own battles, not just for the podium, but for good points as well. It's a crucial cutoff point, isn't it? It's a fine balancing act of when do the super soft tires become worse than a new set of soft tires? And around this circuit, it's so difficult to tell because it's slippy at the best of times. Michi Hoyer also choosing this moment to come in as well. So just for reference, Yannick Braxock has come out in P10, but bad for him, Corey, is that he's come out in the middle of traffic.
Yeah, this is what I was saying as well. This is the only problem you've got to worry about. The undercut here is going against Tom van Egmond just ahead of him, who probably will be looking to pit this lap, you would imagine, coming down to the last 10 minutes. So maybe that then gives him a bit of opening ahead, and then his opponents up front are then going into traffic. It's all a guessing game. The actual calculations in Formula One, in the strategy there, is as much a guess as it is, you know, strategy. You've just got to hedge your bets on it. It's a gamble, isn't it?
I'm just looking at the time here. It's roughly 20 seconds here for a pit stop. And it's around 21 between Braxock and Gosby. Surely Gosby going to come in this lap. Because Simic was all over him in the final section. No, he's going to go around the... Oh, no, he's baited him. He's baited him. Gosby goes in. Simic commits to another lap. Fascinating developments here. Hutchinson goes on. Godek is going to come in, as is Robin Fredrickson. Jacob Reed going to continue on. Kean White comes in. Lombert looking to come in, as is Von Egmond, although Von Egmond looking to actually change his line. Now Lombert is going in. Braxock versus Gosby, though. Where do the two come out? Gosby's coming out the pit immediately. He's going to be ahead of Van Egmond. That could not have worked out any better. He stays ahead of Janos, and he's got miles of clear track ahead.
Yeah, that's real good from Gosby. A great decision then. We'll just see how it compares up to Simeric, who I'm just looking at now, comparing off of Mark Hutchinson, who's still out as well. Hutchinson claimed a second in that last lap where Simeric and Gosby were fighting. So where Hutchinson's off on his own, he's not having to push as hard, you know, he's not fighting over that line. We're starting to see that maybe this was a perfect play from Gosby and well timed.
That's a massive crash, sorry, between Jan Woznica and Kostas Galilamatis here in the mid-sector. Jan Woznica just turning in on Kostas, who was looking to go for the move. The big benefactor there, Kean White, who's gained 3-4 positions in that melee. Ooh. And, Jan Woznica going off into the wall as well. Tissing looking to make his way through the carnage as well. So a real shame there for those two, both now without front wings. That is their chance at points done for this race. Maybe looking to come back in race number 2, although it's going to be a tall order in 15 minutes. Jernej Simic surely has to respond to Martin Gosby, who's already 19 seconds within Simic. He's going to commit. Fascinating development here from Simic. Hutchinson definitely coming in. Jacob Reed also taking a pit lane entry line, sticking to the inside. Simic, I don't understand this strategy.
Nor do I. Those tyres have got to be balder than Patrick Stewart at this point. You know, they have to be absolutely done. The other two behind that are the late hitters as well. Mark Hutchinson and Jacob Reed. They know it. This is absolutely mind-boggling, bewildering in some cases, because you look at Gosby, look at that gap in time, James. 19 seconds behind. We were talking about earlier, 20-second pit stop. Gosby has been climbing. He's been putting the work in now, pedal to the metal, you know, just absolutely driving it into the floor, because he knows with these softer tires, he can just hammer it out. 10 minutes, those tires are going to be absolutely fine for every single one of those minutes.
I wonder whether Simic just conceded the win here. And rather than focusing on trying to win the race against Gosby, He's more considering what's my best chance of defending off Brakshock, because it's going to be close between those two at the pits. Actually, not so much now. It looks like Brakshock's made a small mistake because the gap's extended back up to 21 seconds. So maybe Simičić with a little bit left in the tyres. He's gone for the push lap now.
Good question here. Maybe Simičić, because he saw the two pit behind him, is waiting to see their times.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he was trying to play that game using the times he can see, but it's risky, and you can see the sliding around. It's almost like he's on an ice rink at this point.
He's looking to push now, isn't he?
That is a pit
Surely,
lane.
he's surely coming in this lap, surely. And indeed he is. Yerny Simičić, our race leader, comes in then.
Wipe
I
the sweat off your brow.
Yeah, very much so. I imagine surely he's going to lose position to Gosby, but between him and Brakshock, it is going to be very close, because those two are only a couple of seconds away from each other on track. So Simičić comes in. He straps on a pair of soft tyres, and out he goes now. We can see Gosby and Brakshock coming down the pit lane. Simičić on exit. No way is he going to take the lead. He's going to be super close to Martin Gosby. He might have caught this perfectly. He's performed the overcut. Would you believe it? He did have something left in the tyres, but now he's got a cold set of soft tyres, and Martin Gosby has his set all warmed up. But Yerny Simičić, if he can hold on to this, he's got 7 minutes left. He might just have pulled off a strategic masterclass.
He could have indeed, but like you said, those cold tyres going through the middle sectors here, they could just get him. He's got to have so much control. The difference, though, we're talking about the castle sector where you can only go single file here, James. He has got full control of this situation by being ahead. Simičić, like I said, my hat off to him for being able to pull off what I thought was impossible. And oh, Gosby behind, slipping out, holds onto place, but blimey.
That might be game over. With 6 minutes left, that might very well be game over. Janos Brakshock decided that saving his car was the better option there. He could have been real cheeky and attempted to move up into the castle section, but he's in a podium position. He's doing mightily well. We should really catch up on the retirements as well, because there's been a slew of them since we last checked in. Anton Skirichenko, Herman Stocci, Alistair Khan, and of course Kostas Galamatis and Jan Vosnika, who were involved in that incident in turns 3 and 4, I think it was. They are all out, so we've only got 22 runners and riders left. But the win for this race, it might already be decided. Yerny Simičić running away with it now, and Martin Gosby under all sorts of pressure from Janos Brakshock, who's going to have DRS. Gosby's going to be absolutely helpless down the back straight. Look at the power of the DRS. Janos breezes past like the wind, and Martin Gosby is down to 3rd.
Yep, Gosby, though, holding a very solid line, and he will get DRS between turn 3 and 4, but it's only... Oh,
another
he's
slip.
oversteered it again. He is putting too much throttle down on those exits. It has hurt him twice now and caused him to be back in 3rd.
Let's quickly run you down the rest of the order now that everyone's pitted in. So Mark Hutchinson's gained here. He's up to P4. Robin Fredrickson at P5. So once again, Marek Godek losing out in the pit stop phase, although not as dramatically as he did last time out. He's down to P6. Kian White, of course, benefiting massively from the Gallen-Lamatis. Was the coincidence? Now has Luca D'Amelio launching his way up the inside. That was a lunge and a half. And the Italian might very well get the move secured through. Oh, into this corner, the two of them hit the wall. And that's surely going to invite Roma to sing into the battle as well. Look at Tom Van Egmond as well. He's had a brilliant race, and now he's up inside the top 10. Four-way battle for 7th to 10th. Luca D'Amelio was bold, but it's worked for him. The rest of the point scorers, by the way, Lombert, Reed, Rodger from the back of the grid. He started plumb last. He's up to P13. Great race from him. Violet and Danny Fredrickson rounding out the top 15. As there's been contact, Lombert's round, and that's a front wing off as well. So Violet's going to through, Fredrickson's going to go through, and Tucson is going to, after an early mistake in this race, get back into the points, potentially gift himself a chance at reverse grid pole position. We'll wait and see. Lombert, that's his chance of points gone.
Oh, Amy. Also looking at it as well, have you noticed the turning lines for Martin Gosby? That suspension damage that you suspected earlier, James,
possibly.
It's looking to ring true here.
Yep.
Those lines he's having to cut it so wide and so much slower. I'd say so much slower, but a 10th is still slower, you know?
It was 1 lapse of concentration. He just went too deep into turn 15 and he hit the wall, and it has cost him. That much is certain now. We can look back in retrospect, and That's when I wipe the sweat off my brow, Corey, is when I make an analysis piece and I end up being right. I mean, obviously, there's more to come. God, yeah, more to come. I was going to say, look at this scrap. P7 to P10 still kicking off. Wheel to wheel. Kean White and Luca D'Amelio. Tom Van Egmon's overtaken Tissing. Is Tissing going to get involved as well? Kean White on the inside. D'Amelio goes deep, and he's still held on to the position. Look at this. Still 2 by 2. The 4 go through, and D'Amelio holds on to P7. A slide from Kean White. A slide from Roma to Singh. Van Egmond confirmed up into P9. D'Amelio holds on to P7.
By the skin of his teeth there. Just only being able to hold on because the 2x2 sort of fort does not work here on Baku because it is such tight lines. Going through the castle set, you know, they've all straightened their jackets, they've all got rid of the bruises and scuff marks from a little tussle, but with 2 minutes left, that is another lap. This one is not over yet in this mid-pack battle. Oh, it's only still heating up.
It's been so good to watch.
And it.
Yeah, very much so. And a reminder that all these guys get a good position for race number 2, of course. That said, Jacob Reed, who's dropped a number of positions, he's now starting to work his way back up. And look at Darren Mojek. Oh, he's round! Oh. That is a good time to look at Darren Mojek because he's done such a good job up until now. But he's dropped the ball. When he had P10 in sight, he's on those super soft tyres. That's why he's doing so well at this point. But I fear he's going to get gobbled up by Weiler and Fredrickson here now.
Oh no, Roman Tissing trying to on the last straight. That is going to be a picture perfect finish across there. Sorry.
Oh, it's gone!
Lapping it, but no! Oh, and the crash! Oh.
And Jacob Reed was an unfortunate victim in that. Tissing loses his rear wing. Jacob Reed loses his front, and that means, oh, further crashes up ahead. Mojek avoids all of that, so Mojek has gone from the back of the grid. He's spun at turn 16, and he could find himself, in fact, he will find himself up in the top 10 by the end of this race, and Midgie Hoyer's round in P15 as well. It goes from bad to worse for our reigning champion.
I know Lazaro now going to be able to catch up. He can't overtake Hoyer, so that is going to be...
Oh, wow, we're at time. Sorry to cut across you, Corey, but we're at time, and Jerne Simincic is in the final sector here. I didn't realise it has flown by, hasn't it, ladies and gents? What a race this has been. Incredible to witness. And surely one of the most incredible things to witness was that strategic masterclass from Jerne Simincic. He knew that Gosby hit the wall. He knew that he was eating his tyres. He bided his time. He decided to wait it out on the strategy. And he's come through with flying colours. Jerne Simincic from pole position. He had a fight on his hands, didn't he? But he takes win number 2 here in the Winter Series. His first of the year, of course. And Martin Gosby at the line! Gosby, despite the suspension damage, beats out Janos Braksok to P2. Braksok, by the way, he basically did what I challenged him to. He took a podium in race number 1. Great effort from him. Mark Hutchinson comes home in P4 with Robin Fredrickson, a hugely impressive P5. Godek recovers to P6 with D'Amelio P7 still, although it's going to be close here between him and Kean White. And massive crash! Massive crash at the end there. It's the 2 lock wheels. Would you believe it? Kean White did manage to get it there in the end, although I'm sure the stewards will be having a look at that one because the 2 of them locked wheels and just collided into the wall. D'Amelio P8 as they cross the line. Tom Van Egmond P9 with Jacob Reed P10. Rojek then missing out just at the end there. Reed able to finish P10 without a front wing, by the way. Tucson P12 with Danny Fredrickson P13, Mark Weiler P14, and Mitchie Hoyer can thank his lucky stars. He holds on to P15 despite late drama. Your retirements from this race were Jan Woznica, Kostas Galanamatis, Alistair Khan, Herman Stocci, Anton Skirichenko, Fabian Ruth, Danny Van Den Eek, Adam Rainey. So there were the number of retirements that we were expecting. Just not necessarily all at the beginning, Corey. It was actually a hugely entertaining race with, yes, a few mistakes throughout, but not necessarily big crashes, not big accidents, which could be viewed as stewards' inquiries.
Yeah, the ones at the end were pretty much just tussles and battle. You know, like I was saying, going 2x2, you're both at fault around Baku because you don't have the room to move into on both sides, especially when you're sticking together through multiple turns. Great driving. I have to say, the single-filed attempt continuously through the castle sector, no one overexerting themselves, everyone being super respectful. This was a fantastic race from everyone on that track. Yes, we got quite a few DQs, but you always do, don't you?
DQs? Retirements.
So retirement. Sorry.
If it was DQs, then we'd be
completely different. Yeah.
That would be a very different matter indeed, wouldn't it? But now the matter at hand is race 2. It's coming up in the next 10 minutes or so, folks, and it of course features that legendary reverse grid. What is the number of the reverse grid, I hear you scream? We're going to find that out with Cameron Rodger after this break. It could be one of Jacob Reed, David Mrozek, Matthew Tucson, Danny Fredrickson, Mark Weiler, or Mitchie Hoyer. We'll find out the identity of who's that pole sitter after the break. See you soon. welcome back to virtual Baku and to the 2019 Formula Sim Racing Winter Series. Oh, if you've missed the last hour of broadcast, folks, then you need to be doing some catching up after this broadcast is finished, because we had a brilliant race one. Like, it's the only way you could describe it. It was amazing, fantastic, excellent, and if it could be bettered in race 2 in any way, then strap yourselves in, because it is going to be a hell of a ride. Speaking of race 2, by the way, it of course features a reverse grid. I'm James Kirk, joined by Corey Dyer, and in the box now, I'm pleased to be joined once again by Mr. Cameron Rodger, our broadcaster. And Cameron, there's going to be tradition now. You have the number which has been pulled that determines our reverse grid pole sitter.
I do, yes. So the rules obviously state that it's a random number between 10 and 15 that gets reversed. And last time out, it was Michi Hoyer. No, it was Kostas Galamatis, actually, who got pole position. And then obviously Michi overtook him for the lead. And it's Michi again who is getting the benefit of this, because the number drawn today was number 15, which, by my reckoning,
15.
is Michi Hoyer on pole again, followed by Mark Weiler and Daniel Fredrickson.
I can confirm this. Tucson will be P4. But I'm looking at David Rodger as well, who, if you didn't see race 1, he started in P30. He was right at the back of the grid after picking up a grid penalty from Jerez. He worked so hard. He picked up the alternate strategy, starting on the soft tyres, going on to the super softs, and he made it work despite a spin near the end of the race as well. And he's going to be starting P5. That's a fast dude who's now giving himself a real good shot of potentially picking up a podium, maybe even a win in race number 2. We've got to watch out for Michi Hoyer, though, because he's already won one reverse grid race this season. It'd be hard to bet against him for this one as well. However, it's a double-edged blade. I'm hoping that Corey is back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged blade, because with the switch from race 1 to race 2 comes a deduction in points and point scoring positions as well. So in race 1, you could score points from P1 down to P15. It was 25 points down to 1. In race number 2, it's only the top 10 that score points. And if you win, it's only 15. So, okay, Hoyer can potentially save. I'm really doing the inverted commas here. Save his weekend with a win in race number 2. But again, he's on the back foot, because he would have only scored 16 points at maximum. That's less than what Gosby scored in race number 1 alone.
Yeah, I don't like using the term save, more recover, because you're getting back some of those points, so the gap isn't as wide, all that sort of jazz. For me, coming into this, I think strategy is going to be a big factor, because there is no pitting in race number 2. So tyre choice, the super soft or the soft. Are people going to be trying to push the soft tyre a bit harder, or just use the good old super soft? Because we saw from that last race, the super soft will last the 15 minutes easily. But if you're pushing it hard, literally right into the ground, we saw some of the guys having to pit a little bit early. And definitely here, where it's a sprint race, so you are pushing continuously, a little bit of strategy there could come into play. We saw it in the Super Cup back in the 2018 season around the Circuit of Americas, where we had a couple of drivers running the soft tyre and being able to outpace the super soft drivers purely because they're able to just stick it down into those turns.
I was going to say, there shouldn't be any planned pit stops.
From that first race, a couple of noses go missing. You know, they're playing a little bit of peekaboo with those front wings, so they have to.
Not only that, but I'm just thinking about the state of race 2 at Jerez, where there were like 7 drivers out in the first lap. And I do worry. I don't know. I do worry about... But then again, they were so nice and clean in the opening lap, were our boys out on the grid. It'd be real good to see that happen again. And hopefully lessons will have been learned from Jerez, because often the opening round of any championship is going to see some rustiness.
Yeah, that's it. We've got to find out whether on lap 1 they're going to be good boys again or dirty dogs, really. That's the problem around here, where with sprint races, you can sort of like throw it all at the wall and see what sticks, can't you? Where you're just trying to put everything down and hope just from pure speed, a quick little maneuver, you're going to come out on top. Like you said, with lower points, it sort of like can be deemed a little bit less risky, but still coming out first here, which with the reverse grid gives you a brilliant chance, like we said, to recover the weekend. I don't want to see lads making those silly little risks of, going 2x2 throughout numerous corners.
Well, I mean,
It's
especially
exciting to watch, but for drivers, yeah, it's a little bit awkward and can't say the same.
right. I mean, especially for people like your Jerne Simincic's, Janos Braksok, and Martin Gosby, the maximum reverse grid is worst case scenario for them. They're now placed slap bang in the middle of a field, which is tight at the best of times on this first lap. If anything, that might be a blessing in disguise, though, for everyone else around them, because nobody wants to take out that high caliber driver. And at the same time, the high caliber drivers don't really want to be ruining their championships by going for moves that simply aren't there at the start.
Yeah, and you got to think, actually, maybe starting back at 15th could be a blessing in disguise, purely because there could be a crash at the front. But just as so, there could be a crash in the midfield. There's no real change. For me here, they got to be looking at this and going, right, with this sprint race, the best we can sort of aim for is 5th. If there's an upset, though, this whole race is wide open for them to take still.
Well, the rFactor man says his things, and we are once again transported to virtual Baku, to
Very
the grid.
muffled things, I'm going to say. I didn't catch a single word of that. Like a bad 70s cartoon, really, ain't it?
You can tell that he's been modded over from rFactor 1, can't you? That game's old. We're old. Ugh.
Never played rFactor 1, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of says it all, really.
Yeah, the
Just
oldest racing
making it
game I
worse.
can remember is like Pole Position on the N64 or the original
Goodness.
Top Gear rally game.
I mean, those came out before rFactor 1. rFactor 1 was
Yeah.
2002 territory, I want to say. I honestly can't remember for the life of me. I might be, actually no, it might be 2007.
Chat will have to confirm for us, I think. Well, I'll keep
yeah.
my eye on chat and they can let us know.
Chat will know. I've not got. I mean, I've got the internet at my disposal. I can't be bothered to look. I'm too.
Internet of Red.
Yeah. Unfortunately, actually, to be fair, we got more time because we've just restarted warm-up. It seems like the grid wasn't fully set again, so hopefully this time around it will. We get to hear his lovely muffled voice again. I wonder if there will ever be a new rFactor man. That'll be a passing of the torch. rFactor 3. Let's get Cameron Rodger in there, shall we?
Trying to get. Oh, what about just getting a completely ridiculous voice on there, like Bugs Bunny? Could you imagine that at the start?
No. No, I cannot.
Beauty of modding. Next season, next Winter Series, Cameron, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah. We still have problems with the grid. We've still got race 1.
And 2005, rFactor 1 came out. Thank you, chat.
2005. There we go. So it was
says
in
G.
between.
Yeah,
it's the old grid.
Yes. I am training a race director, and we're just making sure everything's okay. It's all good.
Okay. Don't worry. We're practicing. Practice all good. It's like presumptuous.
Yeah.
We're trying to say to the drivers, listen, these are your chances for red flags. Don't mess it up.
Practice grids.
Practice grids, yes.
It's a thing, right?
What a quote. Let's put that on an that first ever
I just saw it come
FSR
up on
official
the stream.
merchandise.
I was wondering if that was caught on camera. The whatever driver went off into the middle and sort of like awkwardly tried to reverse back onto the
Yeah.
finish.
It's like,
That was
oh,
beautiful.
get back in. Yeah, the FSR merchandise grids. It's a thing.
I mean, when I was covering the indie stuff, those were all rolling starts, and they're more hectic. They're even worse than a grid start. So I'm glad that Formula One is grid starts.
Grid starts are just I always find them so much better because people can mess up starts, and that's part of the challenge. Is not just necessarily your own launch, but figuring out what other people's launches are like and trying to react to them.
We've all done a race before where you're there looking at the lights, near enough going, okay, ready, red, green, and you just suddenly go into the back of the car in front of you, and you're just like,
Race over before it's began. Rest in ripperonis.
Best pizza topping.
Certainly hoping to not be cracking out the cheesy jokes will be Michi Hoyer by the end of this race. He'll want to have won it, and he'll want to have won it comfortably. Sure to be given a hard time, though, given the drivers behind. Mark Weiler joins him on the front row to make it, I believe, an all-German front row here in Baku. Danny Fredrickson starts P3 with Matthew Tucson in P4. And watch out for Darren Rodger. He's my James Kirk sneaky squirrel potential winner of the race award person here on the grid there in P5. Did so well to get up into the points in the first place from the back of the grid. It really speaks volumes of his pace overall. Jacob Reed starts P6 with Tom Van Egmond P7. Luca D'Amelio, Kean White, and Marek Godek will round out your top 10. I really hope those guys continue up the great battles that we saw in race number 1. More of that, please. Robin Fredrickson will start P11 with Mark Hutchinson P12, Janos Braxtock P13 with Martin Gosby and Jone Simincic all the way down in P14 and P15. Big job on their hands to try and get back up into the top 10, let alone the podiums. And our grid then will be rounded out by Christian Lazaro, Vlad Tokarev, Andre Kunchman, Boris Bon, and Tom Lambert rounding out the top 20. Tomasz Vuk, Roma Tising falling all the way down to P22, unfortunately. Jan Vosnika, Kostas Gololamatis, Alistair Khan, Herman Stocci, Anton Skirichenko, and Adam Rainey in P28. 2 of our drivers didn't return, which is a shame, but understandable. Internet and tempers can flare sometimes.
Yeah, so looking at this one here, James, Brasic, Gosby, and Simric, they're going to have a tough time because of that fight ahead of him between Tong Van Egmond, D'Amelio, White, and Godek. We saw even Jacob Reed you could throw into the mix there. We saw them fighting side by side throughout the race, and that is going to be a tough one to pass because I'm expecting them to fight once again because their paces were just so similar in that first race, and that's got to carry on over into this one. Looking around at the tyres as well, a healthy selection of the Superstars. I haven't actually seen a single soft tyre. Boris Bon is the only one that I can really pick out, but he's clearly just going to try and wait it in the early steps and maybe try and get a jump afterwards, you know?
After me, Jone Simincic.
Jone Simincic.
Simincic.
Simincic. Sitch. It's a C. C's and T's I struggle with here, bud.
Evidently. You could actually just call him Jone.
Jone. We'll go with Jone.
First name basis, we're all right. We know him.
Yeah, me and him were best buds.
Best buds.
I know all the winners here at the Winter Series. Don't worry, chat. Don't get too jealous. You got to come over the Discord and you can chat with them yourselves. Check the description that all below in YouTube.
Jone Simincic, I can call him Jone. I've known him in real life for years. That's a Rocket League copy pasta. And we're going to look to the grid now. So Michi Hoyer, he's got an opportunity to double his win tally for the season. He's got a chance, as Corey says, to recover some points here in race number 2 after a disappointing race number 1. Everyone is locked in. The lights illuminate. The engine revs rise. And here for the second time at Baku, we're off and away. And it looks to be a decent start from Jacob Reed in the mid-pack. It's a great start for Michi Hoyer, completely unopposed into turn 1 as Danny Fredrickson's run wide, and it's a massive crash between himself and Mark Weiler. The two of them simply couldn't fit into the same area of the track, and it's also cost Huzata, Tokarev, and Vok positions as well. So Tucson has been able to make his way up into P2, with Jacob Reed capitalising. I said he had a good start. He's really done well for himself, hasn't he, up into P3. D'Amelio, Van Egmond also benefiting. Look at Kean White up into P7 as well. Robin Fredrickson with a great start into the top 10. And look at Martin Gosby up into P9, although there's been a massive crash, I feel, further back. I can hear front wings going. I can see someone on his side. On his side there is Boris Bon. He's mounted the caging like a WWE wrestler, and that's surely going to be his day done. Yes, it is. He joins Boris Bon on the sidelines already. But looking through the castle section, it's Michi Hoyer, and he is streaked clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, because you got to remember, that crash earlier started from Daniel Fredrickson and Mark Weiler. That was second and third having the crash. So Michi Hoyer just saw that in the rear mirrors, waved goodbye to all that mess, and just shot off into the lead. Fantastic start from Matthew Tucson following up behind, and Jacob Reed keeping the tidy. Oh, no, Tom Van Egmond just saw that, getting caught up in all the mess. Sad stuff for him, and he's already just out. Suspension error, and that is a goodbye for him in the sprint race.
Yeah, did what Gosby did at turn 15, except for him, it ended a lot worse. And speaking of Gosby, he's had a brilliant start to the race overall.
Oh, look at Reed.
As the Khan gone as well. At the end of lap 1, it's Hoyer from Tucson. Reed goes into the pits he had. I tell you why his start was so good. It was a jump start. And so he's going to be brought to the back of this massive pack as everyone crosses the line. It's Hoyer who leads from Tucson. Rodger onto the podium. It's D'Amelio, White, Fredrickson of the Robin variety. Gosby, Godek, Hutchison and Kunchman rounding out the top 10 as there's more carnage down at turn 1.
I told you, the sprint race, drivers forget the normality of racing and just know to put their foot down and not let it lift off. Lots of contact going on between 15th and 19th. Jan Wozniak just dropping their places, tasting. It's going for the inside, but that is super close. Jacob Reed is behind, just trying to keep it clean. Had a little think about it and does get it past Wozniak, but oh, he's on the outside and he's not going to be able to stick on. So it's the wall behind, and oh, that is the front wing gone.
Tokarev is out the race and Reed takes out Wozniak seemingly out of spite. Poor move there, and Wozniak a totally helpless victim. I feel sorry for him. He feels sorry for himself. He's quit on the spot and we're already down to 22 drivers. It's not even 3 minutes into the race.
No words right now, James. No words at all. Looking at Brosnock, back there at 17th without wing. He's going to have to pit, and that will put him right to the back of the grid. Dropping so far and just getting caught up in little scuffles.
That's a real shame. That's the first race that Janos has really been caught up in the bad stuff. Let's talk about Jurnek Simincic as well, who's kind of been stuck in no man's land all this time. He's down in P11 and he is in no man's land. Kunchman's a second ahead. Lazaro's 2 seconds behind. Further up the road, however, look at Rodger on Tucson for P2, for P3. Rodger forced to go around the outside. He brakes super late and he gets it done as well. That's how you overtake into turn 1. David is up into P2. Now he's got a 2.5 second gap to close down with Michi Hoyer.
Does indeed. Michi Hoyer just being able to extend off into the lead, but the trail behind. Still looking at Martin Gosby here. Does have a little bit of a gap to White in front, but he is whittling down that time. Keep a little eye on that gap here, James, because he is being able to get the speed. Clearly that speed from race 1 carrying on over, and he is looking to close it out with some clean driving. He's got a couple of drivers behind, but he's not too fussed about them.
Pushman once again having a strong start to race 2, up into P10 already. Gallen and Mattis, by the way, up into P13. Tissing has recovered well to P14. Adam Rainey was the first person to retire in race number 1, and he's into P15. Unfortunately for him, the points don't stretch that far in race number 2. A reminder, they only go to P10. But it's a good start that I wanted to point out nonetheless. And if there's more carnage further up ahead, then he might find himself stealing a point by day's end.
Yeah, looking right now, Emilio is getting close behind Tucson here. He's going to be looking for that DRS going into the straight, and I can tell you, he is pretty much hugging the back of the car as much as he dares. That turn 1 is going to be a little bit hairy in a second.
He follows him well through the back few corners, does D'Amelio. And surely going to pick up the DRS. I think Kian White might pick up some DRS as well behind. Yes, he does. So he's going to close in. But D'Amelio, he's all eyes in front. Tucson once again takes a defensive line. But once again, I fear he's going to be overtaken around the outside. D'Amelio breaks late. Oh, a bit of a lock-up from Tucson as well. And that's immediately invited Kian White onto the back of the Brit. The Irishman is going to have DRS going into turn number 3. So it could be 2 positions in the space of 2 corners for Tucson. Let's see how this plays out, because Tucson does have DRS from D'Amelio in front to defend off White behind, and he going into turn 3. White's not going to risk the car with a lunge that Larry. Tucson stays in P4 for now.
Yeah, you can see he moved out thinking about it and then, you know, thought better. He knew what was on stake, had seen all the crashes beforehand and thought better of it. Clever move from him. knowing that he's just got to keep it, and then that big long straight after turn 20, he'll have another crack.
So further behind then, Gosby up to P6. Great race from him. Robin Fredrickson, P7. Godek and Hutchinson battling away for P8 and P9. And Jerne Simoncic has maneuvered his way past Andre Kunchman. So he is now scoring the final point that you could potentially score in race number 2. Though I got a feeling that he's probably going to be setting his sights on Hutchinson and Godek over the next 9 minutes or so. That's right, 9 minutes. These races go very quickly indeed. We're almost halfway through already.
Oh, indeed, and just looking, the drivers at the back end seemingly have a little bit of damage, and they're just carrying on through, just trying to work their way. When you're in those sort of back stages here, James, I'm looking at these guys, and they're like, okay, all I'm going to do is practice my lines, because Baku is going to be on the roster for the 2019 season, so it's a bit of practice now, getting it in between, and trying to maybe practice a little bit of that fighting as well for these lads.
So Kian White now looking to overtake Matthew Tucson, and Matthew Tucson suffering from a bit of Groundhog Day, because once again he's been overtaken around the outside of turn 1. And bad news bears for him is that Martin Gosby immediately onto the back here, and Gosby might be looking at Tucson as some easy prey here. He's definitely taken turn 2 better than his compatriot. Will he have a chance to overtake into turn 3 though? Again, Tucson has DRS advantage to defend, but you only feel, Corey, that it's a matter of time. Tucson able to defend for now, but once we get to that back straight, I'd be worried about him. He's probably going to be dead meat.
Yeah, you can see Gosby here just near enough glued to the back end of Tucson's yellow Invictus car, and he is just making sure he's ready, picking up that slipstream, picking up these little bits of speed, and see him going out wide, near enough, trying to bait in and dare Tucson to defend. Mind games coming out now. Scary stuff for Tucson.
Let's check in with our leaders as well while we watch Gosby glued to the back of Tucson's gearbox. It's Michi Hoyer still leading, and he's been able to maintain the gap around 2.53 seconds. It seems pretty comfortable for the German. Unopposed, he's fine, but when it comes to battling, he's really struggled so far in the Winter Series. The aforementioned Rodger still remains in P2 and continues to extend his advantage over Luca D'Amelio there in P3. White, of course, we just saw him get past Matthew Tucson, a little slip on the edge at turn 16, and that brings us very neatly back to the battle for P5, where Tucson surely is going to lose this to Gosby. No DRS now from Kian White ahead. It is all DRS attack from Martin Gosby, and attack he will down the back straight. The DRS zone opens up once again, and Tucson this time he decides, is there any point? Probably not. Martin Gosby overtakes him before they've even hit the apex.
No, that's clever. Don't overexert yourself, Tucson. Try and set yourself up now, because he'll have the DRS to follow behind Gosby. Close that gap, because Gosby is not close enough to White ahead, and it sets him up to continue this fight further. Hand over that position, knowing that you're playing the long game. There's still 6 minutes here. One move is not enough in this one. Oh, just saw that behind as well.
That was a little bit of a late lunge, a little bit of a late scare from Marek Godek on Robin Fredrickson. And you know what? I don't blame him either, because Mark Hutchinson's right there in this battle for P7, 8 and 9. And with a presence like Jerne Simoncic watching brief in P10, only a second behind, you'd understand that all these guys would want to try and get as many cars between him and yourselves as possible. I'm fascinated to see how this one turns out, though, because Robin Fredrickson looking to break away. He might be able to do that once we get to the front straight once again, because Tucson, again, he's got decent pace, but he's not got front runner pace, at least on this track, Corey.
No, you don't. He's definitely slowing down in comparison, because where he's just out, he's coming up to be an outsider at DRS zone. He's going to be on the verge of it now when you compare him to Gosby ahead. We'll just have to see, and yeah, just got the gap difference. He is outside at DRS zone. Fredrickson behind will be able to snag it, and Tucson, for him, it is a bad case of deja vu. He's feeling like he's been in this place before. He's got to really just defend now, I'm feeling.
Pulling out an initial D reference on my watch. Hey. How dare you? How dare you? And how dare, says Marek Godek, you try and attack ahead, Robin Fredrickson. Your battle is with me. And Robin Fredrickson was forced more to defend than attack into turn 1. Marek Godek looking pretty eager, and tell you what, if anyone's going to be eager in this field, it's going to be Dyer. Rodger, he has sliced that gap in half. It's down to 1.3 seconds now with 4 minutes remaining.
Definitely, like, can he do it? Because for these two, it's all clean driving until David gets... He's got 4 attempts right now, James. That's quite simple. Once he gets to DRS, if he times it well, could just snatch the lead. And it just shows. We saw on that front straight between turns 20, you know, the grid and turn number 1, how powerful the DRS is here on Baku.
Oh, wow, that was a real slide through the castle section. Rodger wraps it up well, puts a little bow in it as well. Style points, sure, but style points aren't great in a race when you're supposed to be hitting those apexes perfectly, and we'll see how much damage has been done once we hit the Sector 3 time beam.
I don't know, if he comes out on top with those style points, I'll give him extra.
If he comes out on top with the style points, sure, that's fine. But we are 3 minutes away from the end of the race. I wouldn't be going for style now. When does the timing beam come up? He's still within 1.2 seconds. I guess it would be after the last kink, wouldn't it? So let's see. He comes around here now. He doesn't have DRS.
No, we don't.
Actually, no, it's here, isn't it? Yeah, he doesn't have DRS, surely. It's going to be roughly 1.2 seconds once they hit the line. More than he gained a 10th, did Michi Hoyer, so maybe with a lower wing setup, it's suiting him well. He's keeping Rodger at arm's length.
Yeah, and looking behind just at Matthew Toussaint, because keeping an eye on that battle, of course. Fredrickson is just keeping check, so is Godek just behind, but Mark Hutchinson is gaining so close, and who would have thought Simoncic?
Simoncic.
Just got to take it nice and slow. He is right now into the fight. He has been able to claw back that time, and so 10th does not seem where he wants to finish up.
He's going to have to... He won't have time to come up with as many different attacking maneuvers as Corey has pronunciations of his name, of course. But I'm sure he has plenty of ideas in mind. It's just about which ones to use at the right time, because Toussaint is very much proving to be a bottle cork. And Robin Fredrickson is struggling to get past him. And I worry for Fredrickson because Godek is looking hungry. I worry for Hutchinson because he's coming up against Jerne Simoncic. You would be worried going up against Jerne Simoncic. And he's right on the back of that rear wing now as well. But that beautifully liveried pink car, by the way. I'm loving the hotness going on with that car. And it's why Jerne is probably so attracted to it, of course. Glued to the back as they go through this back section. Already looking on the inside of turn 15. Simoncic is lining up a move, and he's going to be even more interested now as Hutchinson does get baited into a mistake. Free gift for Simoncic. He's up into P9.
Is indeed, and Toussaint still holding off, but for how long? Looking at the last time gap, he's going to be on the verge of DRS. I want to say he's close enough, but cannot call it onto White ahead, but
he does have it.
He should be safe for this one going into the member. The very last lap is going to be rung now. Last ditch attempts, last chance to loon for a lot of these drivers.
Late retirement for Kostas Gallimatis, one of the heroes of race 2 in Jerez, has had a miserable evening here in Baku. And Gosby, apparently, we're being drawn to him, and that's because he's looking at Luca D'Amelio. Martin Gosby's made his way onto the podium.
Or has he? Emilio just on the outside trying to get back in, but no, doesn't have the speed to catch up. That's going to be a fight. Emilio, do you think he's going to be able to risk it? Because you've got to remember, ahead of him, Gosby, if he holds like this, will not have the DRS going into that last straight. And Emilio, if he can keep it close within a second, but the DRS might be able to catch up and overtake.
Oh, massive crash in the back, sorry as well, Godek. It's Godek and Fredrickson. I knew that they were going to come to clash, but not in this way. Fredrickson rage quits out the game. He's done, and Kunchman's going to pick up P10. Skirichenko's run out of fuel. What a rookie mistake that is. Certainly not a rookie, though, is Michi Hoyer, who's rounding these final corners. He is led from pole position with aplomb. And given that there's no nightmares on the last few corners here, he is going to be picking up his second race 2 win in a row. He needs to sort out his race 1s. That is a given, and he's going to have a week off to collect himself, think about what he wants to do when he comes back for rounds 3 and 4 in Barcelona and Spielberg. But right here, right now, in Baku, he can be happy with the job he has done here. He wins race 2 ahead of Martin Gosby, who's beaten David Rodger at the line. I think Rodger must have made a mistake there in turn 16. Martin Gosby with 2 P2s in a row. What a great evening for him, further extending his championship lead. Rodger does get a podium. He'll be sorely disappointed with that, though, to have been beaten so close to the end. D'Amelio comes home in P4 with 2 still a brilliant P5. What a great result for him. White is P6 with Jerne Simoncic benefiting from that Godek Fredriksson clash. He's in P7. Godek does come home P8, so he survives. Hutchinson 9th with Kunchman taking the final point there in P10. Your retirements, and there were a lot of them. Over half the field retired, if I read correctly. Fredriksson, Skirichenko, Galanamatis, Lombert, Weiler, Reed, Voznica, Tokarev, Von Egmond, Khan, Bon, and Danny Fredriksson. All gone over the course of those 9 laps of fury. But Michi Hoyer, he wasn't furious at all. He was delighted. He had a relatively easy day of things when it came to race 2.
Yeah, just kept his head down, just completely worked it out. Clean driving throughout the whole of it, even when he was getting, challenged a little bit earlier by David Rodger. He was able to extend that lead over to the point where at the end it was 2.9 seconds ahead, and those two were going at a very consistent pace between them. But for me, the driver of the day here, James, has got to be Martin Gosby. Just 2 seconds, and it's not really for that first race, but this second one, to be able to climb through the pack, outstanding.
It was brilliant to watch. And it was all down to that start. I remember we were talking pre-race about, you don't want to be risking your car too much. But he avoided all the carnage that he needed to. He made the moves, which were obvious to him. And it benefited him massively, whereas Simoncic was really bogged down in those early laps and couldn't make too much progress. For Gosby, going into the second half of the season, he is looking like a strong favourite to be our Winter Series title winner. For Michi Hoyer, though, he has recovered some points, but like I said, Corey, he's got to sort out these race 1s, because that is good points which he's just chucking away.
I said it at the start of the day. It's not only about your mechanical driving ability, but your awareness, the mental. Gosby has the awareness just completely locked down, doesn't he? Not as strong, I would say, on the mechanical as someone like Hoyer, as we've seen from the pace. But dear God, that mechanical aspect here on a street circuit is king.
And once again, it looks like the tyre situation has been made just a little bit easier for him. He didn't look to be suffering too much at all. In fact, the only time he did seem to be suffering was in race 1 with suspension damage, in which case he still bit back and was able to, take a podium position at the end of the day. It's such a hugely impressive drive, but we're going to be talking first to the man who won race number 2, Michi. It seems like a repeat of Jerez in the simple regard of race 1 just didn't go your way, and yet in race 2 you got to win.
I think
he didn't like that.
Like, didn't do good race 1. Nah, get out of it. I'm not talking.
He didn't like that, did he? No. He probably did click on the wrong channel, didn't he? He didn't want an interview. We'll try and we'll give the drivers maybe a couple more minutes. But Corey, looking to the second half of the season, Baku, it was very much a flash in the pan in terms of street circuit, because next up we go to Barcelona and Spielberg, 2 again very open circuits, 2 circuits which demand a lot of your cornering speed and your wing setup.
Yeah, definitely with Barcelona, there's a lot of variance, with the long winding straights of turns. I'm just trying to think 3-4 and that, but then that last little bit in sector 3 is a complete difference, where it's a lot slower but a lot harder to drive around chicane. So the setups become very personal. It's not a case of you can just go say online and look it up or copy another driver's. You have to do it yourself. So a lot of practice is going to be needed for these drivers here to learn the track and how they can handle the car around it to perfection.
Well, for Martin Gosby, practice is going pretty well, isn't it, mate? 15 on the grid in race 2 at Baku. You must be absolutely delighted with how today's gone.
Yeah, that was really good. Race 2, that was much better than race 1, because in the first race I clouted the wall at one point and just absolutely ruined my suspension, and then after that I just wasn't confident. And then when I was behind Yone out of the pits, I bottled it and pressed pit limiter instead of DRS. So race 1 wasn't amazing, but race 2 that was really good.
I am really curious actually because we just caught you clouting the wall at turn 15 there, and I was worried about your suspension damage. Perhaps give us and the audience at home an impression of what it's like to drive around Baku with the level of suspension damage, because at first it seemed like you were okay, you were holding on still, P1, but clearly by the end of the race it was getting a bit too much to handle.
Yeah, well, it's just especially the most hardest place was probably the castle section because you sort of I was putting my wheel straight to make like the left side of it before the right turn, so it was interesting. I mean, especially the second to last corner. Sorry, I was putting my wheel straight to make that left turn, so it plays with your head.
It sounds slightly terrifying, but you shouldn't be too terrified at the end of the day because you've only extended your championship lead. And of course, we have a week off now. Time to collect your thoughts. But rounds, I mean, it's only a 4-round championship, Martin. You're probably clear favourite to go on and win this thing. How do Barcelona and Spielberg rank up there in your list of favourite or maybe most hated tracks? Are they tracks that you feel that you can perform similar results at?
Well, we'll see according to you, because according to you, I'm the tire eater. So Barcelona, it's not really the best track for that. So we'll see about that. And then Spielberg, I probably haven't raced in like a good few years, so we'll see.
Listen, I am open to changing my mind, and my mind is being changed by the race, Martin. So keep on doing what you're doing. It looks pretty good to me. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers, thank you.
And I think we'll probably switch over to Yerne Simoncic next. Mostly because Yerne, you had a pretty decent race 1, of course. You won it, and you took pole position. But race 2 was a lot more difficult, whereas Martin was able to get a good start. You seem to be bogged down a lot more.
Well, it's always the same story. I get like almost crashed off at every corner in the first 2 laps, and then I had to do something from like P11. But I was so angry after race 2 because like always this happens to me. But anyway, it was really fun to drive today. The first race was really like endurance racing, just 30 minutes endurance. So who will make super softs last the most? And it was me, so I got P1. But yeah, didn't quite get it together for the championship.
I tell you what, it was so impressive to see the overcut come off again. It was a brilliant bit of tire conservation, a brilliant bit of strategy and driving by you. But you mentioned the championship, so I presume that you're going to be coming back for the next 2 rounds as well, potentially to try and mount a late challenge?
Yeah, well, I'm here to get the free license. I mean, but yeah, surely I'll be here trying to win all the other rounds, and let's see how it goes.
Eyes on the prize. I love it. The first person who's like, you know what, I want a championship. I really, really do. Yerne, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course, congratulations on your pole position and race 1 win.
Thank you, and thank you for commentating.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Yerne, especially when there's such great action to enjoy him. Speaking of great action to enjoy, Michi Hoyer, again, race 2, a very enjoyable experience, even more enjoyable than Jerez, perhaps. Nobody to fight, it was just you on your own, driving off into a lovely second win of the season. But goodness me, race 1 again, it just didn't fall your way.
Yeah, I mean, I hope to turn that around for the main series because I can't afford having 2 races, one good and one bad. But preparation was very sacrificed, to be honest, with the EC of yesterday, and then today I just arrived. You may have seen it 15 minutes into the 5 minutes into the qualifying. I arrived from handball and I never did a qualifying run, so actually getting into 6th was quite good. But then I broke myself so completely for turn 3 and was dead last. So I guess karma. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy with the second run. As the good start really pulled the gap to Matt, and then after David overtook Matt, basically had good pace to manage the gap.
And so I guess in a way, this week break is going to be pretty good for you because it'll give you just that extra bit of free time to try and sort out setups. Maybe not just for Barcelona, but for Spielberg as well.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I'm trying for the final 2 runs, but after the second, the second fail, race 1, I think the championship chances are pretty much dead. Just very out of the circle chances, I guess. So yeah, definitely gonna take some time. Gonna take some little break. We have the 24 hours of Daytona next week, so that weekend is gonna be stuffed with racing as well. So yeah. Anyway, preparing hard there for Spain and Austria.
There's still 50% of the championship still to go, Mitchy. You never know. You never know.
I know.
Of course, you still gotta. You are the leading driver in terms of race wins. Second of the season, second race 2 of the season. So well done on that, at least, and we look forward to seeing you after the break.
Right, thank you.
Cheers, thank you very much, Mitchy. And so let's just wrap up then. We've already gone over what's next. It's Barcelona. Reminder to you guys, it's in 2 weeks' time, not in a week, like we've been used to here at the Winter Series. So, a bit of time to relax, maybe, spend your weekend with loved ones, but be sure to be back in 2 weeks because Barcelona always throws up some thrills. Corey, any final thoughts from you?
I thought you finished up there, mate.
No. I realised that I'd gone half and half, really, didn't I? I should have been a bit more definitive on Corey. Tell me, what are you thinking?
Tell me now. What I'm thinking today was fantastic, and well, I'm not gonna lie. With the Winter Series, it consists of 3 of my 4 favorite F1 tracks. Funny enough, Baku was one of them. Barcelona is second. Can you guess what the third is?
Is it Spielberg?
It is indeed, buddy. So the second half of the season is going to be absolutely nuts. I know that I'm definitely going to be watching. Don't know about content. We'll have to see about that schedule. But I know you're definitely wanting to hop on once again. So I hope you guys as well at home do. Definitely saw a lot of love in chat. Everyone loving it. So until next time, I think from myself, James, from you as well, and don't know about Cameron because he's been absolutely a silent ninja behind the camera, of course. We'll wish you a very warm evening and we shall see you in 2 weeks' time.
Take care.